So the tips, I love this picture of Freddie being, I think it was the Ashes series in 2005, I think. I always bring that out at some point. The tips having been through it, I put these 5 up, probably a lot more. First one was the value of a non-exec. I was really, really lucky. I teamed up with a guy called Nick, who had fantastic experience and connections within the sports industry. Nick had never done the funding round before, but we got on well, and we could bounce ideas off each other very, very well. What he did was bring grey hairs to the party. There was me being all enthusiastic. Yeah, it's a great idea, it's brilliant. There was a guy who'd been there, had the connections, and he just brought a bit more gravitas to what I was talking about. Nick didn't bring his contacts to invest directly. We did talk to a lot of his contacts, but they didn't necessarily invest directly. What he did was actually, I think, shepherd a lot of the guys that we'd already got over the line because he gave extra credibility, and that was really cool. Second one, you need support. You can't do it on your own. That's actually kind of a bit of a heartfelt bit. I was really lucky in that my girlfriend works at a startup. She actually works with Brent at my deco. So I'd sort of seen a lot of the stuff that they've been through and some really interesting tidbits that she was able to give me. She was also able to tell me when to turn the computer off, which is really, really important. Basically be there when it didn't work, when it had the really bad day, say, no, you can do this. And that support is absolutely massively crucial. Don't underestimate that. I mean, for me, that support came from my girlfriend. It could come from somebody else in the team or whoever it may be, but you need that support. The third one was build the business. I mentioned that over a long period of time, 6 months, we were out there looking for funding. We couldn't have got to where we were today and got funding in unless we'd have carried on building the business, unless we'd have carried on having the conversations with the brands, with the agencies, getting more people on board. So I can't stress that enough. We had to just show a usage number that was going up or a revenue number that was going up or that progress. You know, when we were talking to people like, we went to talk to Sky Sports and ITV, because we were having those conversations at the same time, it was then much easier to have the conversations that going on at the same time with investors. I put love it here. You've got to love what you're doing, because it's bloody painful going out and raising money, and you will tear your hair out and you will shout at the poor little intern who actually doesn't really know what he's doing and he's only trying to help. But you've got to love it, because if you don't love it, it's really not worth it at the end of the day. And the last one was stick to your belief. The reason I put this is that I think after we got sort of funding in, we realised that we'd had a lot of conversations with a lot of people who were looking at us in different ways. And I'm a nice guy, I want people to be happy, so it's really easy to say, yeah, we could go and do this, or we could go and do that. And all of a sudden your focus can start to drift. And you can say, well, we were trying to build this, but you could be interested over here, so how about we shift it? But you might be interested in over here, so we could shift it over there. Stuff it. The reason that I think Twitter is great is because it does one thing. It allows you to send a message to lots and lots of people who are following you. It's dead easy, it's simple, people get it, and they're focused on what they do. So my big thing with that is sticking to your belief and actually carry on what you're doing and what you believe was a great idea, because that's why you left the nice, cushy corporate job with the nice holidays and stuff, because you believed in that idea. Don't waver from it. Flip side is, do listen to feedback, but fundamentally believe in what you were doing, because that's why you did it in the first place. So, yeah, this is the last one. This is the Man United youth team from 92, 93. Basically, so if you look along it, you've got Gary Neville, David Beckham, Paul Scholes. I mean, how funny does Paul Scholes look at this point? It's brilliant. Nicky Butt, Phil Neville, Kid Gillespie, all these guys, internationals came on. That was an amazing team. That's the team that you never win anything with kids, according to Alan Hansen. That's where we feel that we are at the moment. You know, we've got great potential, but we've actually got to go and do something. Because actually, you know, there's kids on the youth team, FA Cup, but they didn't actually go and achieve anything until they've grown a bit. And that's where we are. So we've got our first external funding in. It consisted of in grand total 8 different investors, putting from small to relatively large amounts in. 2 of them came through London Business Angels. One was an investment banker, so I think he was just looking at, hey, here's my bonus, I'll stick that in. Another guy was an FD of a company that they'd sold a while ago, and he was looking to invest a little bit of money. Then we had a colleague of mine, an ex-colleague of mine who I'd worked with at Reuters, because I like the idea, I like you, just definitely give it a go. And another guy who I used to work with, who worked at a company that had just sold, and then he brought in his mates. So I mentioned network before. Probably over 50% of that came through people that I knew. And yet when I actually started off, I thought, well, I don't know anybody who could actually put money into this sort of thing. It was amazing how many people we could get, or indeed could introduce us into other people. So yes, we've got our investors on board, so they're in. Brilliant, signed up, money's in the bank. Woohoo, great, we're off. It also means that they ring you up. Why is that? I don't like the fact that you've got that button blue on the website. No, leave me alone. And then we had a huge spectrum. Some of the guys who want to get really, really involved and say, oh, I think it should look like this, and I think you should be doing this marketing. And that's quite hard. So the guys who said, look, just send me a monthly report, let me know what's going right, what's going wrong, and just keep me in the loop. So there's a huge difference there. Mistakes made and lessons learned. Yeah, we made mistakes. Got loads of them. Both in terms of running the business, the way we went about funding, what lessons I would have learned, lessons to go and do things differently, both in terms of the way I set the business up, and indeed what we would do now going forwards as well. But I think you'll hear a presentation by one of the guys from Huddle later. We'll talk about go big or go home. And one of the things that I remember when I first heard his presentation was that he said, the more money that you raise, the more opportunity you've got to make mistakes and learn from it and then get it right better. I couldn't agree more that actually what the money does give you is the opportunity to learn, because the worst thing I think in the world could be, well actually we did this, didn't quite work, we've now worked out what would work, oh bugger, we've run out of money. And that I think would be the worst feeling possible. So you have less money, you have less opportunity to make mistakes. And the last bit, let's do it again. We raised a small amount of money. As I said, it's there specifically to get the runs on the board, prove that we can do it, then be able to go back to the market and say, right, okay, we prove that we know what works on this, we prove that we know what doesn't work, we've learned, this is where we're going with it, now do you want to come into the second round? And our users numbers have gone from X to Y, our revenue has gone from X to Y as well. So that's where we are, and I'm basically about to start the whole process over again in probably another 3 or 4 months, I guess. So there you go.
Thank you very much indeed.
If you want any questions,
Brilliant, Charlie. Thank you very much. Now, question or two?
Jeff, do questions?
Yes,
Jump on the mic.
And a question in terms of market size and calculating sort of total addressable market,
Sure.
Key component of business plans. So it's interested in that sort of discussion point.
Key component of business plans, wow. I would, sat with my old Nike corporate hat on, yes, I would have agreed with you. I was quite lucky in that when I was at Nike, I ran the business planning, so I had access to all our data and figures. So I knew exactly how big the UK sports market was and all that sort of stuff. So I could just pick that up and I knew it. It was quite easy. And they were great numbers, they were big. It was quite cool and quite impressive. We put that up and it was always a lead part of the business plan and stuff. Ultimately, somebody said, yeah, okay, it's a big number, it's an interesting bit. And then everybody moved on. As long as there was an addressable market that people could see. So in our case, I think it was something like a 6 billion sterling UK market, of which 10% was online, and it was growing the online piece at some ridiculous rates, and I think going from 10% to 12% of the market to 14%.